I'd like to lead you all in a little prayer. Dear Lord, may our feet be swift, may our bats be mighty, may our balls be plentiful. And Lord, I just like to thank you for that waitress in South Bend. You know who she is. She kept calling your name.
This summer, Tom Hanks is managing the impossible, the Rockford Peaches.
Who says girls can't play baseball? Who says women can't throw?
Slide! Slide! Thank you!
Give them a league of their own to play. Then stand back and get out of their way.
That sounded good.
So let's all root for the girls' team. Let's give the poor coach a break.
Still missing the cutoff man. Now, that's something that I would like you to work on before next season.
'Cause it's Flash, Flash, we're having a bash at the old ball game.
Columbia Pictures would like to take you out to the ball game for an all-star comedy.
They'll pay you $75 a week.
We only make 30 at the dairy.
Well then, this would be more, wouldn't it?
The manager, Tom Hanks.
Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
The catcher, Gina Davis.
Well, you see, we slip in the back seat and you make a man out of me.
We'll just have to smack you around for a while.
Can't we do both?
The pitcher, Lori Petty.
I made it! I'm a peach! A Rockford peach!
The scout, John Lovitz.
Are you coming? See how it works is, the train moves, not the station.
And batting cleanup, Madonna.
What if my uniform bursts open and oops, my bosoms come flying out?
You think there are men in this country who ain't seen your bosoms?
A league of their own.
All right. God knows we have a game. It's not like any of this helps, believe me.
Directed by Penny Marshall.
So not only do you have Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, Madonna, Lori Petty, this was a big breakout film for Rosie O'Donnell, even though she'd been around before then in other movies. This was the first movie that really got her name out there. You also have John Lovitz in there, David Strathairn is in this, Gary Marshall, Bill Pullman. The writers of this, Laurel Gans and Babalu Mandel, are the same guys that wrote City Slickers and a lot of Billy Crystal's movies. Like I said before, Penny Marshall directed this movie, and really, it is a great movie. It's a great film. It's a very fun piece of entertainment. Tom Hanks, in particular, is hilarious as Jimmy Dugan. He's amazing in this, and he's got to work with all these actresses. And he keeps up with them a lot, because the women really do steal the show in here. Gina Davis is always going to give a good performance, and Madonna here is very funny at times. Lori Petty also has a good role here. Rosie O'Donnell, like I said, was her big breakout role that really got her name out there. I mean, it's a good cast that they have here, and they have a really good script to work with, and a fun concept to work with as well. And it definitely shows on screen. It's very funny. It's very much a crowd-pleasing movie. And it's just a ton of fun all around. It has great memorable lines to it, great bits of comedy, great bits of drama, great bits of entertainment all around. And it's just a very fun movie all around. It's just a movie that really, when you watch it, you just can't help but really find yourself just falling in love with it every time you watch it. Like, it's a movie that every time it comes on, you just got to stop what you're doing and just watch it. And it's just like, it's just an enjoyable comedy all the way through. It's a movie that still holds up to this very day. And it was a huge success. It spawned not only one show that's currently on Amazon Video at the time of this recording on October 3rd, 2022, but even after the movie came out, like not even a year after the movie came out, CBS already had a series in development and they put it on the air. And not surprisingly, it didn't last very long. It only had 6 episodes, but only 5 of them made it to air before they eventually pulled the plug on it, because kind of like what they would do with other shows like this, most notably of recent memory, My Big Fat Greek Wedding had a series that was on CBS not too long after the movie came out, My Big Fat Greek Life, which didn't even last a full season. It was like the movie had been out in theaters all summer, and the show was on TV within like the following spring. And like I said, it didn't do very well, and the CBS show didn't do very well. But the Amazon show has gotten some good reviews. I actually don't know if it got another season. I'm looking at the page right now for it, and I don't think it did. I don't think it has yet, but I mean, it could get. I mean, it's still too early on. I think Amazon usually waits a couple of months to see what the viewer output is. So who knows? Maybe it'll get another season. But I haven't seen it yet, so I have to check it out at some point. But as far as the original movie goes, it's a classic film on so many levels. Just a great, fun piece of entertainment. I love it a lot. A League of Their Own. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have, the last movie that we have, actually. It's Eddie Murphy starring in the comedy Boomerang from the director of House Party, Reginald Hudlin.
Yes, baby.
I'll give you $20 for that, Lee. Kirby! Come on, Kirby! Kirby!
Did you lose your dog?
Oh, yeah, I lost a white Springer Spaniel with brown spots on named Kirby. You ain't got no romance.
Excuse me. I'm the most romantic cat both of you know.
Wait, let me give you my number, because I'm not going to be able to sleep until I know you found him. Do you have a pen?
Do I? Stuff like that never happens to me. Man, stuff like that never happens to anybody except for Marcus.
Spend the night with me.
Oh, Christy, no, it's just too soon. The only reason stuff like that happens to me all the time is I pay attention to women.
Check it. It's like Jet Magazine. I'm working here about 9 days. You know, I've been on time most of the time, even when it rains. Don't you think it's about time we talk promotion?
We're colleagues. We do discuss business. I'm talking about a business dinner. Just business and straight and discussing our work.
You know, there's other things in life besides sex. Come on, how about sharing, commitment? You know, you get to get in touch with your feminine side like me.
I'm starting to sound low on the soft side.
I'm trying to impress you, you know that. I know it. Now, where'd you get the mushroom shirt? I got to know. Well, the secret is you got to coordinate. Most people don't coordinate. You got to coordinate. Look what I got.
So haven't you ever seen a guy and thought he was attractive?
Women do stuff like that. You see other girls and you say, oh, she's cute, or her hair is nice, or guys will see other guys and go, oh, look at his shoulders. We don't do that.
You know what your problem is? You need more romance and less dopamine pincher. That's what you need. Oh, God.
I have missed the romance when I meet a woman, and then once I hit it, I lose interest, but that ain't my fault.
Where you going?
I have to give a speech in the morning to the board of directors. Thank you. You were great.
Love this nice guy.
God, Marcus, I was so tense when I got off the plane, but I'm really relaxed.
Call me.
Sad, man. First the fat boys break up, now this.
What's interesting about this particular movie, in fact, this year in particular for Eddie Murphy, is that he was kind of on a downward spiral for a little bit. His movies weren't really the big successes that they were in the 80s. I think that started with Harlem Nights not being a big hit, and then another 48 Hours after that. And then he had this movie, and then he had another movie, The Distinguished Gentleman, which we'll get to that one later on in the year. They were both, as Boomerang was a hit, I don't think The Distinguished Gentleman was not. And he was it was kind of like a roller coaster in the early 90s for him before his career kind of took a comeback in the late 90s with stuff like The Nutty Professor and then Dr. Dolittle. But we'll get to those ones later on down the road. But when it comes to this movie compared to other Eddie Murphy films, it gets kind of a mixed reaction. Some people like it, some people hate it. You're really on one side of the coin on this one. You either really like it or you really hate it. Me personally, I'm on the side of it where I do enjoy the movie very much. It's a very predictable, cliched film at various points, but overall, it is a pretty funny movie. I actually like the concept of Murphy playing this womanizer who gets his comeuppance, and you have a woman who pretty much does the same thing as he does. And again, Robin Givens, man, we talked about her when she did A Rage in Harlem. She was a really good actress back then, and she really, I mean, she has to keep up with Eddie Murphy in this movie, and she does that so well. You saw it in the trailer, and it's just it's just hilarious to watch at times, some of the ways that she outplays Eddie Murphy at times. You also have a really good cast in here. A young Martin Lawrence is in this, Chris Rock, Halle Berry, Eartha Kitt, Grace Jones, David Allen Greer, Jeffrey Holder. For Reginald Hudlin to come off of House Party and then do this, he does a pretty good job with it, and I think the script does a very good job of trying to create some new ways to kind of tell the story around. It doesn't really work all the time, but for what the movie is trying to do, it definitely fits that bill. And kind of like with The League of Their Own, it did spawn a TV series as of recently. It was on BET. I think they actually flipped the script on it, where where Eddie Murphy's character was a female in this one, and it was a gender-bending performance or something like that. I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on that one too much, but I think it did pretty well. I think it did last for a couple of seasons, and I think it was just canceled recently. I'm going to check right now. I have the page right here. It was on for like 2 seasons, and yeah, basically it was kind of like a continuation of the series, except the roles were kind of reversed in terms of the story from the first film into this one. Like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it too much, but I mean, it got some decent reviews from what I'm looking at here, so maybe it was worth something. Maybe it was one of those shows that had to get canceled because of the Paramount Plus movement or something like that, but like I said, I can't really comment on the show too much. I have seen the movie. I just watched it again on Blu-ray recently. It's still a very good movie that still holds up. It's very hit and miss story-wise, but I think the film does a good job with its cast, jokes, and directing and writing overall to make it worthwhile in the end. Not one of Eddie Murphy's best movies, but it's still good enough to recommend it. If you want to see a decent Eddie Murphy film from him, this is definitely the film that's going to work for you. So that's Boomerang for you.
It was a top-secret government project.
Pac-Man eyes. All of them.
Designed to create the perfect soldier.
No man would ever again have to die in the service of his country.
Cryogenically preserved.
Okay, guys. Memory clearance.
Genetically enhanced.
How's the picture?
Pretty ugly.
Very funny, very funny.
Programmed to obey.
We're at the tower. Okay, here we go.
Who are these guys?
30 hostages held inside the power station at the base of the structure.
I said shut up!
We're inside. Begin phase 2.
This marks the 3rd successful mission for the Universal Soldier.
But there was something they didn't count on.
He's not responding. GR-44, do you read me?
At the end of the mission, he became completely unresponsive.
Inside the machine is a man.
Did you really think the Pentagon would allow the regeneration of dead soldiers?
Stop the girl. Shoot if you have to.
And all it takes
Veronica Roberts, TNA.
is one memory
You didn't do anything!
to awaken him.
Let's go! Hit it!
Traitor, Universal Soldier.
What the hell did they do to you?
Don't know. But I'm going to find out. One can't be controlled.
Buckle up.
The other cannot be stopped.
This mission has been canceled.
I'm giving the orders from now on. I'm gonna teach them all. Are we having fun yet?
The ultimate weapons of the future have declared war on each other. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren, Universal Soldier.
Stop. That is an order.
So you can see also noted here that this is directed by Roland Emmerich, and this is kind of the movie that launched him into the stratosphere of Hollywood, because before this he had only made a couple of movies that were less than successful, but after Universal Soldier became a pretty big success despite mostly mixed reviews, he would later go on to direct bigger hits like Stargate, and then later on, of course, Independence Day. And I've not been a big fan of Roland Emmerich's movies over the last couple of decades, but he hasn't made he's made mostly bad movies, but he's made a couple of decent ones. And this one's definitely one of his better movies in my opinion. It is pretty much it is very much kind of a Terminator 2 type of clone. In fact, this whole movie the marketing, and if you look at the commercials for this, advertised this as from the studio that brought you Terminator 2, and I guess they were hoping to have that kind of similar success to it, but Terminator 2 was a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but this movie still made a ton of money. It made $95 million worldwide over a $23 million budget and spawned a franchise of its own, so it did have its success, and it was a very enjoyable film overall. It's a good, fun action movie. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren, when these two work off each other very well, it can get very silly at times, very over the top, but there is a fun factor to all that fun, to all that, there is a fun factor here to this movie that works very well here, and you can definitely see it in those clips right there. It's like I said, it's very formulaic. It's a very Terminator 2-esque type of film, but it does work. There are a lot of good action sequences in this movie that still hold up to this very day. There is still a lot of fun elements to the film. It's an overall enjoyable movie. In terms of Roland Emmerich's movies that he's made in the past, this is definitely one of the ones that still holds up over 30 years later. It's a movie that, if you want to see Roland Emmerich at his best, this is definitely one of his best movies. Universal Soldier, definitely worth checking out. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the movie that has probably the most interesting and bizarre production history of any movie in recent memory. Well, I take that back, but the story of what happened behind the scenes of this particular film that we're looking at next is very... We'll delve into it once I show you the trailer for it. This is Cool World.
During his 10 years in prison, Jack Deebs created his own world. It made him very successful.
You're Jack Deebs, the creator of Cool World, right? Can't believe it.
Now he thinks he's going home to the real world. But he's wrong. Real wrong.
Welcome to my world.
You're not in Kansas anymore. Praise Cool World Police. I'm a cartoonist. I do all this. This place exists with or without you. Get a little closer here, babe. Give us a kiss. Go away. I'm out of here.
I've been waiting for you, darling.
Noids do not have sex with doodles. It's the oldest law in Cool World. If that happens, you call me. I got it, boss.
Since it's only a dream, indulge your fantasies. The man is in the bedroom. Are you gonna follow the rules? Or are you gonna follow Manstein's?
I'm about to make an unscheduled trip to the other side. Buster. This is gonna be the biggest disaster the Cool World has ever seen. Stop! Cease!
Nobody's supposed to stop me now.
You look good in the flesh. It's almost a shame I gotta take you back.
I just want to be real.
You gotta slow down.
Not on your life, pal.
Enough out of you, kitty. This place should be erased.
Hey, it's a living.
Cool World.
We may not be real to you as yet, but we will be.
Okay, so we have a lot to talk about with this movie, and let's start with the production history behind it, because this actually begins about 2 years prior to this film's release in 1990. Ralph Bakshi decided to make another animated film, so he pitched the idea of Cool World to Paramount Pictures, where Bakshi had worked as the final head of the studio's animation division. He wanted to pitch it as an animated horror film, the idea being that the movie is about a cartoon and a live-action human having sex and conceiving a hybrid child who visits the real world to murder the father who abandoned her. Bakshi said the studio bought it within seconds, and just from that idea alone, that makes this a whole lot more interesting. This is a movie that's an idea that could be very, very interesting, especially in 92, if you're trying to go for a darker, more edgier Roger Rabbit type of movie. Unfortunately, that's not the movie we get, and in fact, Bakshi himself actually got really screwed by Paramount Pictures, because when they were building the sets in Las Vegas, one of the producers, Frank Mancuso Jr., who was the son of the president at the time, Frank Mancuso Sr., he had the script rewritten in secrecy, and Bakshi was just basically given a script written by two different people that was not even close to what the original film was supposed to be. And the idea was that he wanted the producer, Mancuso Jr., wanted to move away from the horror films that Paramount had been making, because this was the studio that also did the Friday the 13th franchises, and wanted to produce a film, quote, about what happens when someone creates a world, becomes defined by it, they can't escape, and it's a film about being trapped by your own creation, which, concept-wise, that could work, but it's important to remember that Bakshi pretty much got screwed because of this, and Bakshi even got into a fight with Mancuso and punched him in the mouth. That's how pissed off he was. But of course, Paramount threatened Bakshi with a lawsuit if he refused to complete the film, and he basically just went along with it. Bakshi got screwed big time. There's no denying that he got screwed big time. They gave him a completely different script to work with that was nothing like what he wrote. He threatened to quit, and Paramount said they would sue him. And we start getting into how this movie became what it eventually became, because Bakshi wanted to originally cast Drew Barrymore and Brad Pitt in the leading roles. Brad Pitt was cast as the other live-action character, Frank Harris, you see in the trailer here, and Gabriel Byrne was cast as Deeves. Kim Basinger was cast as Holly. That was what Drew Barrymore was supposed to play. And according to Bakshi, Basinger had attempted to rewrite the film again halfway through the production because she thought it would be great if she was able to show the picture in hospitals to sick children. And Ralph Bakshi literally said, Kim, I think that's wonderful, but you've got the wrong guy to do that with. And first of all, you want to sell this movie to kids? I mean, really? First off, she was just in Batman. That was more suitable for kids than this movie was. Hell, My Stepmother is an Alien, which he had made just before that, was more suitable to show the kids than this. Yeah, Basinger was just basically letting the fame that she had gotten in the late 80s get the best of her back, and then apparently also Drew Barrymore certainly would have been a more interesting character and casting choice instead of Basinger, especially if you just seen her in Poison Ivy at the time. And really, there's just so much in this movie that is so crazy behind the scenes that it's just amazing that this movie is one of those interesting failures that comes around every once in a while. There's a lot of ambition to it, but when the final project comes out, it's just a complete mess all around. But at the same time, you got to admire for the stuff that it did work. I will say this, going for the movie, the animation in this, while incredibly chaotic and over the place, can sometimes really be amazing to look at. You got all these different visuals and backgrounds that are impressive to look at, with some homages to Disney, Looney Tunes, comics, Fleischer Studios, Terry Toons. All that is in here, and most of the time when it's not just using random scenes and dialogue, because it is used randomly, like somebody like Holly will be talking to the Brad Pitt character, and all of a sudden you'll just see random animations coming all over the place for no reason whatsoever. And other than that, it is great to look at. This is Bakshi doing some of his best animation he's done for a movie yet, and yet it's one of his most polarizing films he's ever made. But, you know, as we talked about in the past, visuals do not make the movie, and the script is really where the movie collapses on its own, mostly because of what happened on the first day of shooting. It's like the scriptwriters who were brought in had no idea what to do either. The characters are so poorly written, you cannot connect to any of these characters in any way, shape, or form. Basinger's Hollywood is just basically just a one-sided character who wants to feel the touch of a Noid, as they say, the real humans are calling this, sexually, and when she finally does and becomes a human herself, has nothing else to work with. Brad Pitt is essentially written as a hypocritical cop in this movie, who's basically going after this Noid for something he wants to do with his own animated girlfriend, too. Which, I mean, it's like if Donald Trump accused Hillary Clinton of doing things that Trump did himself. Okay, I'm stepping away. I'm not getting political on this one, but you get the idea. It's very hypocritical, to say the least. But, and then you get to Gabriel Byrne, who really has nothing to do in this movie. First off, he creates this world when he was in prison, and Byrne was about 42 years old at the time, and Brad Pitt gets zapped into the world in 1945, and it really that doesn't make sense. His character is written so poorly that they have to have other people literally speaking his own backstories for him. I counted in this movie. There's 4 times in this movie where another character is going through his backstory, and every single time, he never has to say anything. He has literally no dialogue in this. He only speaks in one-word sentences, cliched riddle lines, and it's like the movie itself doesn't even give a crap about him. Then why the hell did you even put him in this movie? So much so that by the final action scene in the movie, he's not even there anymore. Like, he He literally turns into a... There's a scene... The final act of the movie has Jack just leave after he's been given the opportunity to be a hero that comes out of nowhere, essentially replaced with Banana Man, right down with having him voiced by Maurice LaMarche, who has like several characters in this movie. But it's like the movie was like, okay, we're tired of your non-acting ass. We're getting somebody in here to line this up. And sure enough, Gabriel Byrne never comes back after that scene. That's how much of this movie does not give a crap about anybody. Even the movie ends on this weird, but on this wacky note. This movie starts off as this incredibly dark and edgy movie, but then by the end, they just go for the most wacky, insane, and happiest endings that they could possibly come up with. There's a part in the movie that is towards the end of the film. Brad Pitt's character gets killed off by Holly as she's flickering back and forth from human to doodle, and then later on, Frank's partner takes him back to the cool world, to his girlfriend, and then she asked him, was she a doodle when she killed him? And basically what happens is that when you get killed by a doodle, you become a doodle yourself, which never gets explained at any point before then, but it's happening here, and guess what happens? Brad Pitt's now a cartoon character, so there was a purpose to that scene where she's flickering back and forth from human to doodle. A bad purpose, but a purpose nonetheless. This movie is it's a weird movie. Don't get me wrong, this is a bad movie, but it's a uniquely bad movie. It's a uniquely bad movie because we are literally seeing a director being forced into directing a project he wanted nothing to do with. This is one of the most uniquely bad movies I've ever seen. You could look at this movie and director Ralph Bakshi having no idea how the hell to make this movie with this reworked script he was given. But on that front, I would say that this is one of those so bad it's good type of movies, like the ones that you should watch just for how unusually unique it is. And it really is an unusually unique, interesting failure that came out of this movie. It's not a good movie by any means, but if you're looking for something very WTF and just all over the place, and the effort being put in there when there was really no intention of putting any effort in there by the people behind the scenes, this is that movie to do it with. This is actually, if you want a so bad it's good type of movie, Cruel World is definitely something that you should definitely check out. I mean, it's amazing how all over the place this movie is. It's a bad movie, but a so bad it's good type of movie. That's the best way to describe this film. So I told you that was going to be a long one. That was Cruel World. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Alec Baldwin and Meg Ryan in Prelude to a Kiss.
This is the story, and I'm not making it up.
Okay.
And it's not as sad as it sounds.
Sure.
I'm going to make this as brief as possible.
Take your time.
And
We can go up to my place when you're done.
everything worked out great. Everybody was amazing. From the moment I laid eyes on Rita, I knew there was something special about her. You're really beautiful. It was like some chemical reaction had happened. A spell. It's like a drug.
It is a drug.
Sex.
To snare us into mating. These are my parents. No, no, no. Daddy, no.
It seemed like we could just look into each other's eyes and see all there was to know. Will you marry me?
Uh-huh.
But I know now that wasn't true. Seems there was at least one other man she had this kind of connection with.
None of us seems to remember who you are. I only wanted to wish the two young people well, and perhaps to kiss the bride before I'm on my way.
She would only know him for a moment.
My blessings to you.
But just one kiss, and she lost herself completely.
Actually, this could be another one that could be a so bad it's good type of movie, but, well, okay, first off, I haven't seen this movie. I can't really, as usual, I can't really comment on it too much, but, that trailer really says a lot of interesting things that could be very good, but considering that I've never heard anybody really talk about this movie, and, if you want to know, here's what I found out about the plot. It's basically following a conservative man played by Alec Baldwin and a liberal woman played by Meg Ryan. That's literally what it says on the Wikipedia page right here. They fall in love, and on their wedding day, Rita, who fears life's uncertainties and is cynical of the world, is kissed by this elderly stranger, played by Sydney Walker, causing their souls to switch places. Peter realizes the change and reunites with Rita, now in the form of this elderly man, and while trying to figure out how to restore his wife, Peter tries to connect with his wife despite her new form. There definitely could be some good ideas here. The premise sounds very intriguing, but it also sounds very similar to Ghost. In fact, Fox basically, this is pretty much their attempt to try to copy the success of Ghost, and needless to say, it didn't work out too well because this movie has been largely forgotten. But I don't know. I mean, it's an idea that could be interesting, but I've not heard anybody really say that this is truly a great, great film. Most of the reaction I see for this is just a very mixed bag. Some people really like it, some people really don't. It's just depending on how you're going to take. It just really depends on how you feel about what's going on in the situations in this movie. And like I said, I can't really say too much about it, but I will say my interest is a little bit piqued. I am curious to see what I would think about this movie. So maybe one day I might definitely look at this one. But as for right now, can't really comment on it too much. But could go either way with this one, I think. So that's Prelude to a Kiss. Let's go ahead and move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is The Best Intentions.
Jag ser. Du ska bli präst. Då måste du veta någonting om kärlek.
Nu är vi förlovade. Ska vi kyssa varandra nu?
Man måste vara övertygad om att Gud existerar. Så det är helt klart jag som supertjänst. Jag är ganska barnslig. Inte tillräckligt för att byta familj.
Och jag anser att hennes bindning till kandidat Bergman kommer att leda till en katastrof.
I det här brevet finns det inte ett enda vettigt skäl. Vem är det som har tvingat honom? Är det mamma som har tvingat honom?
Saknat det.
Nu kommer jag, Henrik.
Ungdom och skönhet är något vi törstar efter.
So this is kind of a semi-autobiographical film on Ingmar Bergman's life, because this was written by him, and this is basically telling the story of the complex relationship between his parents, who are renamed in this movie but retain their true surnames. The film basically follows the courtship and the difficult early years of their marriage until the point where Ingmar's mother becomes pregnant with their second son, and you're basically just following kind of the. It's like I said, it's a semi-autobiographical film about Bergman's family life, and I haven't really, like I said, I can't really comment on it because I haven't seen it, but I don't know. It doesn't look too bad, but unlike with Prelude to a Kiss, it doesn't really look like anything I need to rush out and see quickly. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually kind of decent, but like I said, I haven't seen it. Can't really comment on it too much, so did want to acknowledge that it came out this weekend. So that's The Best Intentions.
The man who 2 years ago did the unthinkable.
Honey, I shrunk the kids.
Is at it again.
Call the command directory labeled primary laser drive.
With a bigger lab.
Set final target.
And a bolder experiment.
All right, I confess, I did it.
Did what?
I blew up the baby.
Mama.
Walt Disney Pictures presents A Little Family Crisis.
Put Daddy down.
Stop before someone gets hurt.
That's getting bigger.
Oh my God, he's out.
And bigger.
He's over 100 feet tall.
You stop right now.
What's that? It's a tranquilizer cannon. That's my kid you're talking about. I'd have to insist that these two be taken into custody.
The chase is on. The excitement is building.
Move it!
Higher. And the adventure is bigger than ever.
Honey, this is dangerous.
Don't worry.
Rick Moranis. Honey, I blew up the kid.
Oh, no.
You know, because the first movie was called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and they made him little. Now it's Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, which makes him bigger now. Which I gotta say, for Disney, to call this Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, for them to do that, that's pretty funny when you think about it. But also very interesting how in 2 weeks we had 2 different movies that have Las Vegas climaxes at the end of it. Cool World had it there, and then we have it here in Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. I mean, okay, like I said, it makes sense that the sequel to this would be making the kid bigger than compared to the first movie where they made him little. But at the same time, you can definitely look at this movie and tell that it's a very underwhelming sequel. I mean, this is pretty much the same movie as the first film, except not as exciting, not as engaging, or not as intense as the first movie was, which made it so great, such a great film that still holds up many years later. But this movie in particular, you knew that going in that this was, I kind of knew going in that this was going to be a much more family-friendly oriented sequel, since the first one was pretty heavy on the intense action going on. But again, that's what made it fun. It was a fun adventure film, and here, they basically just took the safest route possible, made it very kid-friendly, made it a lot more cuter, made it a lot more sillier and goofier, and I don't know, it just didn't work for me. It's not a bad movie at all, but it's definitely a step down from the first movie. There are definitely a lot more sillier and goofier moments here that even kids who are watching this movie are probably going to look at and it's like, you're going a little too safe on us, pal. But, I mean, to the movie's credit, there are moments in here that do still kind of hold up. I mean, I'll give the movie credit that there are a lot of fun things that make it worthwhile. For example, the animated opening that they have in this movie, where Wayne Szalinski's getting the shit smacked out of him through various things from the big baby. It's pretty funny. Like, it's one of the few moments in the film where it's just like, okay, that really got a good laugh out of me. And you also have the music of Bruce Broughton, who had done some work for Tiny Toon Adventures at the time, and some other shows and movies back then. But it's fun to listen to, and you know, for a movie the visuals in this still kind of hold up. The visual effects, I should say, they are still very impressive. Like, the third act in this movie where they go to Las Vegas alone, that's really fun to watch just for the visuals, and you can tell that the effort was being put in there. And really, it holds up a lot better than a lot of CG movies that we've gotten over 30 years later have held up. I mean, this is a movie that was made 30 years ago, and the effects in some of these scenes still hold up to this very day, which is very impressive for this film. I mean, I guess Honey, I Blew Up the Kid is a definite step down from the first movie, but there are those few brief moments of enjoyment that make it kind of okay to watch. It was just part of a really bad summer where a lot of what was coming out was either huge disappointments or just terrible movies, and this would be in the category of huge disappointments. It's fine for what it is, but don't go in there expecting another Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, because this is definitely not it. So that's my thoughts on Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, which is Melanie Griffith in A Stranger Among Us.
Emily, why didn't you call for backup?
Because we thought we could handle it ourselves.
No, you thought you could handle it by yourself.
You really are some cowboy.
What do you got?
Classic mob hit. 2 in the head, 1 in back. No sign of forced entry, no prints, latent or otherwise.
Yakov knew his killer.
We don't kill each other. We don't kill anybody.
Yeah, well, there's a first time for everything.
You're wrong.
I got experience, okay? I know human nature.
But you do not know our nature.
Somebody that you know, somebody who you trust, is Yakov's killer. The only way that I'm going to catch this person is if I'm as close to you as he is.
They're like weird?
No, they're not weird. They're nice people.
While you are with us, you must respect our customs.
It wouldn't be proper us alone in a room together.
You guys got a lot of rules?
Actually, there's 613.
Go ahead, cheat a little. I won't tell. Ariel, you're special. You look at me when the others turn away. You look at me and you talk to me.
It's going down.
In a world of unseen danger.
What if you're right? What if it is one of us?
And unspoken passion.
When God created the universe, he made a match between every female and every male soul.
Lies a mystery.
If they can get to one of you, then they can get to all of you.
A mystery one woman is determined to solve.
We don't want it!
Melanie Griffith. A Stranger Among Us.
Okay, you knew I had to do it because let's be honest, it was there for the taking, and it's probably the only thing you'll really get any enjoyment out of this particular movie, because, man, this movie was rough. I mean, for Sidney Lumet, a great director, to have this and then to follow it up with Guilty of Sin the following year, this was not a good time for him, and this was coming towards the end of his career as a director, and he just picked a bad script here. This is not a very good movie whatsoever. I mean, you can honestly see why right off the bat. It's a ripoff of Witness. Like, we had Unlawful Entry earlier in the summer, which was basically a ripoff of Pacific Heights, except that one was done much better than the previous movie. This movie was not. This is a movie that just really fails miserably to try to capture the same spirit of something like Witness, but it's nothing like that, and it just doesn't work, mostly because of Melanie Griffith. I mean, she's a great actress, but she can't play a role like this and try to be that, even though she's kind of being that same person that made her famous in the first place. Like, it's hard to play a tough-as-nails cop like this person is, and you really just don't get invested in the story whatsoever. You don't get invested with these Hasidic Jews, and it's kind of offensive to them the way they set this movie up. It's weird. Like, if I can look at a spoof of The Critic where they have Arnold Schwarzenegger as an undercover rabbi, and that makes more sense than anything in this movie, there's clearly a major problem here. So, but yeah, you can pretty much kind of predict everything that's going to happen. You can predict what the twist is going to be. She's going to fall in love with one of the people there, and it turns out that maybe he's the killer. And if you've seen these movies before, then you pretty much know how this is going to end. Like, it's really, you could literally predict what's going to happen 20 minutes into the movie, and once the crux of the plot comes in, you can automatically see where they're going to go from here. And really, there's nothing really more I can add to this that hasn't already been said about it. It's not a very good movie. It isn't shining through bad, but it's definitely not a good movie for Melanie Griffith in '92. She's not having a good streak so far. And it definitely, as you can just tell from that trailer, why. It just didn't look like anything but Diet Witness. That's A Stranger Among Us, so let's go ahead and move on to the last movie here. Yet another disaster that came out this weekend with some high-profile names. We got Jack Nicholson and Ellen Barkin in Bob Raffleson's Man Trouble.
Sex is often such a barrier to friendship between men and women.
Not necessarily. Jack is back.
What do you specialize in?
Female troubles. In trouble again.
Who is it this time?
This is a very unique individual.
Didn't I hear this before? About the hostess at Denny's?
Jack Nicholson is Howie Bliss, an expert at training attack dogs. I want to show you what you can expect from a dog of this caliber. Ellen Barkin is Joan. Don't worry, we're going to get you to feel as safe as a little baby. She was looking for protection. Did she even ask me what it cost? Damn it, I really respect that. What she got was man trouble. Sorry.
Don't need to send me no flowers, baby. Don't need no long Cadillac. You're right. I don't need a man with a monkey on his back.
We're having a slight problem with Duke.
That's more or less normal for most of your adult males. Jack Nicholson, why don't you let me take you out of this place and buy you a drink? Ellen Barkin. You can go as slow as you want. Man trouble. Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Of course, Bob Raffleson is best known for his work with 5 Easy Pieces, The King of Marvin Gardens. We talked about one of his movies recently with Mountains of the Moon in '90, and he actually directed another Jack Nicholson bomb, which was The Postman Always Rings Twice, that came out over 10 years prior to this. And it wasn't because you not only had Raffleson as a director, you had Carol Eastman, who they both wrote and directed 5 Easy Pieces. You also have Jack Nicholson, Ellen Barkin, a cast that also includes Harry Dean Stanton, Beverly D'Angelo, Michael McKean, Saul Rubinek, Veronica Cartwright, just this ensemble cast here, and the stuff they're given is just not funny whatsoever. It's not a very good script whatsoever. It's a very bland, mediocre comedy that gives these really capable and talented actors, nothing to do. There's nothing funny here, and it just feels like a comedy that's just not trying to actually be funny. It's just there to just be there, cash in on the fact that we've got Nicholson and Barkin working together here, and it's just not working. It's just not working. It's just one of the most bizarre attempts to try to make something great that just doesn't work from the beginning. And Penta Pictures, by the way, is also the same people that gave us a delightful comedy, Folks, with Tom Selleck and Don Amici earlier in the year. So that should have been a warning sign right there that this company does not have real intentions to make any good movies. They just make crappy movies like this, and it's just not funny. It's not funny. It's not enjoyable on any level, shape, or form. It's a movie that's just not. It's just not a good movie. It's a movie that had a lot of ambition, had a lot of great people involved, had a big budget to work with. It didn't even make. What do I want to say here? It didn't even make a sixth of its budget back. This was a $30 million movie that only brought in $4 million and pulled it from theaters almost immediately. A $30 million budget, an $8 million payday for Jack Nicholson. Fox, who put this out, expected to recover their $8 million from that. And this movie, I doubt that this movie ever made its money back. Like, I really don't think this movie ever made its money back because nobody wanted to go see this movie for a good reason, because it's not a very funny movie. It's not enjoyable. It's very lackluster. It wastes so much talent on this cast, this director, this writer, who should know a lot better than to agree to this. Like, this is a bad movie. This is another really horrible movie that came out this weekend, and really, you should just avoid it. Avoid it like the plague, or in this case, avoid it like COVID. Maybe that should be my new slogan, because I used to say that about bad movies all the time. Avoid it like the plague. Avoid it like COVID. Like, that should be the new thing for it. And now watch me keep using avoid it like the plague in other episodes. But bottom line is, Man Trouble's a bad movie. Avoid it at all costs.
It's cornbread. Open the door. You didn't use the code. The fat man walks slowly. Well, the fat man needs to lose some weight.
Columbia Pictures presents Damon Wayans.
Say, what's happening, bro?
What are you? And Marlon Wayans. John, in a comedy about two brothers scamming their way on the streets
You need lactate.
and into the big time.
We'd like to see your jewels, please. What jewel exactly is it that you'd like to see, gentlemen? That one? This one? You know, the big one. I like the big.
They're on the move.
Not one, not two, but three Cartier watches. Dinner at Lou Chow's. Yum yum dim sum.
On the make.
I wish I had an ice cream. Looked just like you. I'd lick it slow from head to toe.
On the run.
Darling! Are we having fun?
And definitely on the loose.
They certainly have personality.
This summer.
Two birds. Which one? I am.
Why settle for less?
So anyways, how much you selected? $3,000. I love
When you can have Mo.
I got you a lawyer. Is he good? He's the best lawyer in town. For the money.
Mo money.
Your Honor, allow me to fumigate my wisdom on the defendant.
So honestly, when I first heard about this movie, I could have sworn it was a feature film version of the skit from In Living Color, because there was a skit on In Living Color called Mo Money with Wiz and Ice, and I thought that this was it. I guess I thought maybe it was the Wayans brothers' answer to Wayne's World, which of course Wayne's World came from Saturday Night Live and was a big movie hit in the spring before this. But as far as I know, this is not that movie. This is a movie that's basically its own movie. It just has the name Mo Money. You basically have Damon Wayans as this con artist who gets a job in a credit card company. He falls in love with an employee there, played by Stacey Dash. He also steals a couple of credit cards and starts using them. And then the chief of security drags him into this big league of criminals. It's movie that seems very simple, but as far as the movie goes, it really doesn't use what made the Wayans brothers very funny. What makes them very funny, because this was their first movie. I think they did after I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, and this was, like I said, it was right after this was right at the peak of In Living Color success. I actually think this was also when Keenan Ivory Wayans was also fired from In Living Color too. I could have sworn it was, but he has nothing to do with this movie. I think this is mostly with just Damon Wayans and Marlon Wayans, and I think that's it. And it's directed by Peter McDonald, whose last movie was Rambo 3. So talk about a major difference in movies. You got an action movie with Sylvester Stallone, and then you do this movie, and kind of like Rambo 3, it's pretty forgettable. Like, it's not really all that funny. It's not really all that clever. And Damon Wayans can be very funny. We've seen him on In Living Color. We also saw him in movies. We saw him in The Last Boy Scout, where he actually worked out very well with Bruce Willis. But as far as this movie goes, there's not really a whole lot there in terms of the script. Like, sometimes there could be funny moments here and there, but there's nothing really there that makes it stand out pretty much. Like, it's not really all that funny. It's not really all that creative or unique. And it doesn't really feel like a movie that fits the type of comedy that you would expect from the Wayans brothers. But like I said, it's just Damon Wayans and Marlon Wayans in this movie in particular, so maybe that's why. But I don't know. I just didn't think it was all that interesting or funny, and I really didn't understand much of the plot, really. There's not really much of a plot there, honestly, and it just wasn't funny. I didn't find anything about it that amusing, that interesting, and it was largely forgotten, at least for me, after I saw it the first time. I barely remembered it about a day or so after watching the movie. But, I mean, it made money, but not at the box office. Not a whole lot, but it did make it back its budget. I think twice its budget with $40 million. So, some people liked it, so I can't really argue with them on that. But as far as I'm concerned, Mo Money's just kind of a mediocre movie. Sometimes it wasn't really all that funny. It was mostly forgettable. And, yeah, not a big fan of it, unfortunately. So that's my remembrance of Mo Money from the time that I remember watching it. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is the highly ambitious Mom and Dad Save the World.
On their way up the coast, Dick and Marge Nelson got lost in space.
Look, it's Saturn.
Now they're enjoying the scenery, chatting with the natives,
Are these your pets? It's your family.
and boldly going where no parents have gone before.
Let me out of here.
Terry Garr, John Lovitz, Mom and Dad Save the World. Rated PG. Starts Friday, July 24th at a theater near you.
I remember seeing this preview a lot. Whenever I watched the preview channel when I was little, they would always have a commercial for this particular movie on. I never really knew anything about it until I actually saw the movie well after that. And, yeah, kind of like Mo Money, this is pretty forgettable. But, again, there was some promise in there. I mean, the visuals in here look pretty nice. And I think, and you got Terry Garr, you got Jeffrey Jones, you got John Lovitz, you got Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson, who both worked on the Bill and Ted movies. And really, there's just nothing here. I mean, this is really not a very entertaining movie. Despite the elements that are there, I think there are potentially funny moments in there. I'll give it this, the visuals still look, like I said, the visuals still look pretty nice. Some of those creature effects still look pretty good after 30 years. But the story itself is nothing really all that spectacular. You've seen this kind of story done over and over again, except this time you've got this couple from the suburbs who get abducted by aliens, and all of a sudden they have to save, as the title indicates, they have to save the world. And it's not really all that impressive or amazing. Like, it's not really a movie that really uses all these actors to their true potential. I mean, you've got a good cast here. You've got the writers of Bill and Ted, and there's nothing really here to make it work overall. It's a movie that's pretty forgettable, kind of like Mo Money, but with a lot more ambition to it. It's a movie that I think could have been something interesting. Maybe it could have had this cult following, but I honestly didn't see it, so fortunately, this is not I have to say it's not a very good movie, despite the promise that is there. There are some promising elements to it that just didn't deliver on them, so that's my thoughts on Mom and Dad Save the World.
Know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart.
Some people will go to any length to stay young forever.
Is that someone?
It's Madeline Ashton. She was a big star in the 60s.
I thought she was dead.
Oh, madam,
You look younger every day.
thank you, Rose.
But Madeline Ashton and her old friend Ellen Sharp
I've lost men to her before.
are about to go too far.
Touch of magic.
Drink that potion, and you'll never grow even 1 day older.
Bottoms up. No warning.
Now a warning? Siempre viva! Live forever! Ernest, I'm in the morgue. They think I'm dead.
You are, but you're not. Are you telling me it doesn't hurt when I
Of
do
course
this?
it doesn't hurt. She's dead! She's dead, Ernest.
Now he's dead.
He's dead? Ernest is dead? Everybody's dead!
You pushed me down the stairs.
I'm so sweaty.
I don't think it's sweat, honey. I think you're defrosting.
It's a lie.
Universal Pictures presents Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis,
It's a miracle!
and Goldie Hawn.
Look at me. I'm soaking wet.
Death becomes her.
I just have to make a telephone call.
Okay, first things first, yes, the visual effects still hold up 30 years later. It's another one of those movies where you can look at it. This came out in 1992, it's now 2022, and the effects just, like I said, they still hold up all these years later. And this is a pretty good movie overall. It's very flawed, don't get me wrong, but you got Meryl Streep, you got Bruce Willis, you got Goldie Hawn. They're working off of each other so well. The comedy is very well done. Like I said, the visuals are impressive. There's some great practical effects put in there as well. And it's an overall really enjoyable movie. I really had a good time with it, watching it again recently. And really, it is just a ton of fun. You've got two great screenwriters here, David Coep and Martin Donovan, who really work this into a very good script that makes for a lot of good funny moments, a lot of good moments of comedy overall. And it really does feel like a Tales from the Crypt episode. Like, you hear the Tales from the Crypt theme song in the trailer there. And of course, Robert Zemeckis produced Tales from the Crypt and actually directed some episodes. But it really does feel like something that you would see from a Tales from the Crypt episode. Only thing you're missing is the Crypt Keeper. But yeah, it feels like that type of a movie. But it's a very funny movie overall. The cast in here just works so well. The music by Alan Silvestri is great. The visuals are still very impressive. And so, I mean, it's still a movie that holds up many years later. It's a movie that's just so funny to watch. And just the ways that they create this black humor, this dark comedy all around. And just for how crazy they can go sometimes. It's just a ton of fun to watch on so many levels. It's a movie that really has grown on me over the years. And really, it's become one of Robert Zemeckis' more underrated films that he's made. Because did not get a good reception at the time it came out, but it did very well at the box office. But over time, it has grown to have this following, and I'm glad to see that more people are enjoying it just as much as I am. So that's my thoughts on Death Becomes Her. Terrific film. If you haven't seen it, by all means, please check it out. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, which is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Not the Buffy the Vampire Slayer that you may be familiar with, but okay, sorta, but we'll get to it once I show you the trailer.
I just met this girl named Buffy. I'm Pike.
Pike isn't a name, it's a fish.
I liked her, even though she seemed kind of flaky. But, as it turns out...
You have been chosen, Buffy,
To do what?
to stop the vampires.
Does Elvis talk to you?
And things started getting weird around here.
Are we having a nightmare?
You threw a knife at my head.
And you caught it.
She was the one person I could really count on.
Kill him a lot.
Hi.
Hi. What are you doing here?
What am I doing here? I'm saving your butt. That is a bad guy. Can we go, please?
The Slayer is unmasked. Let's finish it.
I think this relationship has potential.
I
How's it going?
You're obviously having a bad hair day.
If she can just get rid of those other guys in her life.
Stab him in the heart!
Christy Swanson.
I am so sure.
Donald Sutherland. Paul Rubens. With Rutger Hauer and Luke Perry.
Buffy, you're not like other girls.
Yes, I am.
Buffy, the Vampire Slayer.
You didn't even break a nail.
Directed by Fran Rubel Kazooie.
So this is one of those movies that has one of those weird production histories behind it where it doesn't really get it's not as crazy as something like Cool World was, or Man Trouble, or some of these other movies that were interesting failures, but what happened was Joss Whedon sold this movie to Dolly Parton's production company in '91, but then Whedon eventually left the film because he became dissatisfied with the direction the film was going. The executives at 20th Century Fox removed a lot of the jokes that Whedon had there because he thought the humor would be too abstract for audiences. They disliked the darker elements in the script. They wanted a more lighter comedy. Merrick's suicide in the movie was replaced with him being killed by Lothos, and Buffy's burning down her high school gym to kill all the vampires or eliminated altogether. And he just became very frustrated with it. He even got in it with Donald Sutherland, who described Whedon as entitled. I think he described Donald Sutherland as entitled to work with, difficult to work with, and he just walked off the set. And it's interesting how he was able to come back 5 years later and do what he wanted to do with Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the TV series, which eventually became a great show in the long run. And most people look at the movie and feel like it's a movie that doesn't work as well as it should compared to the TV series does. But honestly, watching this movie again recently, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, I could definitely see why Whedon wouldn't have liked what they did with his original script, because it is very campy, almost to the point where it almost becomes annoying at times. But overall, it is still pretty fun. You got Christy Swanson playing the great leading role here in Buffy. And Donald Sutherland can be very good whenever he is, even if he was sort of entitled behind the scenes. He's still putting a good performance in there. A lot of people are putting good performances in here. Rutger Hauer is great in this. Luke Perry's in this movie, and he's doing very well. Paul Rubens looks like he's having the time of his life, and really, I mean, considering what was going on at the time when he got caught masturbating in the porn theater, and his career, many people thought his career was over. It actually turns in a pretty fun, over-the-top, campy role in this. But again, I could kind of see why Whedon wouldn't have liked this, because this wasn't the movie that he originally wanted to do. But I mean, for the most part, it's still a fine movie. It's not a classic by any means, and there's been much better comedies like this one before, but I don't know. From everyone that kept saying that it was a terrible movie, it was something that hasn't held up very well, I tend to disagree. I think it still holds up on its own merits. You can still enjoy the TV series that came after it, and still find some enjoyment in this movie as well, but maybe that's just my personal opinion. I know some people who really like the series but don't like the movie, and who knows, maybe it's vice versa. Some people like the movie, some people don't like the series. It depends on, your opinion does matter here, but yeah, for me personally, I thought the movie was just okay. Like I said, it's no classic by any means necessary, but it doesn't take away from the fact that we still got a great TV show that was a completely different approach to it. That was kind of what we wanted to do all along, but like I said, I still enjoyed the movie for what it is. If you go in there with an open mind, you might find some enjoyment in it as well. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that's the animated film Bebe's Kids.
I see you got away from. Can't wait to eat.
It started in the mind of an offbeat comedian.
We baby kids. We don't die, we.
It grew into the animated world of Bebe's Kids.
I knew she was trouble. I should have known it when I met her. It was at a funeral. Oh. Who's that girl in that black dress? Woo. She's so fine, make me want to get a job. She told me, she said, if you want to get acquainted with me and my son,
You should take us somewhere like Fun World.
Fun World. So I goes to pick her up the next day. She got 3 more kids with her.
Paramount Pictures present Bebe's Kids.
Those are double knit pants, aren't they? Trying to bring it back, huh?
Please familiarize and observe the rules while in Fun World. No running. No jumping. No yelling. That means you enjoy your stay.
Bebe's Kids.
We don't die, we multiply.
They're all energy. They're all attitude.
It ain't time to go. You trying to leave us?
And for the next 12 hours, they're all Robins.
I thought the devil was true when they made Rosemary famous. But, oh no. Now we got Baby Kid.
It's animation with an attitude.
Or in some marketing, they call it this.
It's animation.
It's just animation, apparently, in some trailers for this. Like, yeah, I don't get that edit whatsoever. But Bebe's Kids. This is actually done by Hyperion Studios. We've talked about some of their work in the past. We talked about Rover Dangerfield, which came out the year before. And in a way, this is kind of similar to Rover Dangerfield, except that Robin Harris is not playing a dog character here, and it's not even him in this particular movie. It's Faison Love, because I think at the time Robin Harris had actually died before this movie actually went into production. I could be wrong on that. I'd have to double check, but I've seen this movie many times before. I've seen it I've seen it a lot of times on video. I used to watch it all the time on, like I said, on video, and then about 20 years after I watched it for the first time, I found a DVD of it at Half Price Books, which really, at the time I bought it, which was 2017, it was $40 because it was out of print. And luckily I didn't have to pay that much. It was still like $25, but still, $40 for that. It's impressive that is of how rare that DVD was until, more than likely until recently, when it recently came out on Blu-ray, which really, I think maybe lowers that value a little bit. But then again, I think there was also some other DVD versions that came out after that were cheaper. So, again, I have to look into that. But overall, when I watched the movie again, I just thought it was okay. I think it was just a really decent movie overall. The animation is very good. Like I said, this is Hyperion Studios. This is the same company that would later go on to do The Proud Family, which the director of this, Bruce W. Smith, actually did, actually created, and eventually went on to do the sequel series Louder and Prouder. These guys are usually great when it comes to animation, and it definitely shows here. Other than that, though, there's nothing really about this that's all that memorable. The voice work is overall okay. I think the story overall is very generic. The comedy isn't really there. There are times when it can be legitimately funny. The movie goes random at some points that make no sense. It's just an okay movie. There's nothing about this movie that's really exciting, to be honest. I'm surprised this movie got made as an animated film, because I think it could have easily been made into a live-action feature, and it probably would have been a little bit better, but for what it is, it's okay. I think, honestly, the short that preceded this, the Itsy Bitsy Spider short, which that of itself became a TV series for USA a year later, I think that's probably the best thing to come out of this thing, because you can watch that short on the Blu-ray and the DVD just like you can watch it in the theater and when it was on VHS. So I think that was the much better of the two that were featured together. Just my personal opinion. But Bebe's Kids, for what it is, it's fine. But it isn't one that's going to warrant a whole lot of rewatchability, honestly. So that's my thoughts on Bebe's Kids. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Enchanted April.
Excuse me, we've come about renting the castle in Italy.
Now, here are all the details.
It seems so wonderful and such a miserable day.
Perhaps that's why it seems so wonderful.
I've been invited by a friend to spend April in Italy.
What? Italy, you can't go. It's absolutely out of the question.
So the story here is you've got 4 women in 1920s England who leave their rainy, gray environments to go on holiday in Italy. 2 of the ladies become acquainted with reading a newspaper advertisement for a small medieval castle off the shores of the Mediterranean, and they find some common ground. Both are struggling to make the best of their unhappy marriages, having decided to seek other ladies to help share experiences. They reluctantly take on the elegant but peevish elderly Mrs. Fisher and the stunning, aloof, and very wealthy Lady Carolyn Dester. The four women come together at the castle and find rejuvenation in the tranquil beauty of their surroundings, rediscovering hope and love. I literally read this off of the Wikipedia page because I have never seen this movie, so I really cannot say too much about this movie. It's got a decent cast. Josie Lawrence, Miranda Richardson, Polly Walker, Joan Plowright, Alfred Molina, Jim Broadbent. Pretty good cast overall. The director of this is Mike Newell, who would later go on to direct such movies as Four Weddings and a Funeral. Donnie Brasco, he would later do Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Oops, excuse me. Yeah, some other notable movies, but this is one that I've never seen before, so I can't really comment on it too much. I know that Plowright got an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress, and that's pretty much everything I know about this particular movie. So I don't doubt it's any good, but I mean, I've seen a lot of good reviews for it, so I'm not going to say it's not bad, but maybe one day I'll check it out. So that's really all I got to say about this one, because like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't really say too much more about it. That's A Chance in April. Now let's go ahead and move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is The Panama Dispatch.
1 year ago, the people of Panama lived in fear under the thumb of a dictator. Today, democracy is restored. Panama is free.
Well, to say we invaded Panama because Noriega, I don't know how Americans can be so stupid to believe this. I mean, how can you be so stupid?
The performance of the mainstream news media in the coverage of Panama has been just about total collaboration with the administration. Not a critical perspective, not a second thought.
Our regret is that we were not able to use the media pool more effectively.
You would think from the video clips that we had seen that this whole thing was just a Mardi Gras. That the people in Panama were just jumping up and down with glee.
They focused on Noriega to the exclusion of what was happening to the Panamanian people, to the exclusion of the bodies in the street, to the exclusion of the number dead.
The Panama Deception, excuse me. I said The Panama Dispatch, but that was completely wrong. But the movie, this is a documentary about the 1989 United States invasion of Panama. It recounts the events which led to the invasion, the death and destruction caused by the invasion and the aftermath. The film is very critical of the actions of the U.S. Armed Forces. It highlights media bias within the United States, showing events that were unreported or systematically misreported, including the downplaying of civilian casualties. It also argued that the true purpose of the invasion was to prevent the then scheduled retrocession of the Panama Canal Zone to Panama, as agreed to in the Torrijos-Carter Treaties. The film states that the U.S. government invaded Panama in order to destroy the defense forces, which were perceived as a threat to the U.S. control over Panama, and installed a government which would be friendly to U.S. interests. The film includes footage of massive graves uncovered after the American troops had withdrawn, and footage of burned-down neighborhoods. It refers to the use of experimental weapons and prevents depictions of some of the 20,000 refugees who fled the fighting. So, as you can tell, this is another one that I read off of Wikipedia because I really know nothing about this movie, and it seems like a movie that certain news outlets would probably immediately try to say that this never happened, or I'm not going to say who because I'm not going to get into politics on this channel. But it's narrated by Elizabeth Montgomery from Bewitched, so Samantha Stevens narrated it. That's pretty much all I got. That's pretty much all I got for you because really, like I said, I haven't seen this movie. I don't really have a need to see it because really, it's not something that instantly piques my interest at the time, but it has an audience for some people, but I mean, that's pretty much all I got for you on this one because really, I don't know what else to say about this one. It's one I haven't seen. Can't really comment on it because I haven't seen it. So, yeah, that's The Panama Deception.